Alrighty, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you very much for attending our webinar on densities, safety, and occupancy focus, especially on campuses. My name is Graham Smith. I'm an account executive here. I've been working with many people, my colleagues also, in higher ed on returning to campus, what that looks like, processes, and how densities occupancy monitoring can help them create safe and hygienic areas. So we're going to start with a few words about densities technology and how we're a little bit different. Share some stories and some product examples of where density helps, demo our software, and of course, we'll leave about 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. You should expect to spend no more than 30 minutes here. Thank you very much for your time. So what is density? Density is by far the most accurate and advanced way to count people as they enter and exit a space and yield real-time occupancy. There's really a combination of two things that goes into that. The first, as you'll see on the left side of the photo, is our sensor, which I'll spend a few minutes discussing shortly, but there's also our software, which ingests that people count data and gives you that occupancy in rooms and floors and so on. And we'll show you that in just a bit. Density believes fundamentally that there are three core things that go to being best in class, especially in a safety use case. The first is anonymity. Density has always believed that we should never enhance the amount of PII collected on somebody. In every conversation I've had with over half a dozen universities, that has emerged as a core tenet. People do not want to subject their students to more surveillance and more data collection than is necessary. It also, by the way, happens to make security reviews much, much easier when density actually collects no PII, which you'll see shortly. In addition, we believe that anonymity and immediacy go hand in hand and are also very core. Not anonymity, I apologize, accuracy and immediacy. Accuracy, density is by far the most accurate way of counting people. We'll show you why in a second. Delves into our technology a bit. If you don't have an accurate count of people, especially in a safety use case, the utility of that data is muddled. And then also immediacy or real timeliness. If you're constantly waiting for information on the occupancy of a space to refresh, especially in a safety use case, that value is diluted. Density sensors are threshold based. So they mount over doorways where they can be strung together and treated as a single threshold for, say, larger spaces like grand entrances to dining halls, like I've seen in some universities. In addition, they're designed to be networked together and speak to each other. So if you have 5 entrances to a building, a density sensor over each doorway will provide you with the ability to get occupancy, that is, summing the count of each of those devices. So density's technology delivers superior anonymity and accuracy by not being a camera. What we do is actually use infrared to build a depth measurement of what's happening beneath the sensor. That depth measurement, as you'll see on the left, tracks no PII. I would challenge somebody to judge anybody's identity based on just these captures. When somebody goes out, as we're seeing with 4 people here, count reduces by 4. That is reflected in real time, which is 0.7 of a second in density's belief. And then let's say I'm one of those people, I forget my book bag, my laptop, what have you, I run back in, count is recognized immediately as being +1 once you go through that threshold in the middle. The idea on the right is that's how we derive superior accuracy as well. So we use our algorithm, which is trained for each sensor to recognize human heads versus backpacks, trash cans, emotional support animals, the flora, the fauna, the ephemera of a modern campus experience, again, to deliver that best-in-class accuracy so that you can make the best and most informed decisions in planning. So speaking about density safety use cases and what we've seen emerge, this photo on the right, 10 months ago, certainly it wouldn't have given me pause if I walked into that in a campus study room. I think broadly most people on this would agree with that. And I think most people would also agree with me that if I walked into that room now, I would cringe and I might even beat tracks, right? I might even run out of that room. So the question that we're seeing from people increasingly is, hey, with, what do we do? We know we need to bring students back. It is impossible to create a sterile environment. So what do we do? And what we found is that there is a combination of creating data capture within your environment for administrators and facilities professionals, as well as credibly communicating that to students, faculty, and other people who walk your spaces. This is especially accurate in places like dining halls, libraries, and recreation centers, spaces that are shared, where occupancy is dynamic. So, density safety suite, digital signage is displayed on the right. We'll get into what that looks like in a bit, but we're here to essentially help you get to that better place of social distancing, of peace of mind, both for yourselves, students, parents, donors, everybody. The first step of that from the administrator side is alerting. So hypothetically, let's say we've set a threshold of 200 people to be in my main dining hall, Ryan's Place. Okay, in Ryan's Place, it's all well and good to have those, but if at 2:01, we're being reactive. All these processes, experiments and frankly, implementations that we've done that cost money, they're all thrown out the window when we're over occupancy. What density does is let you set a notification, an alert, SMS, app push notification, email, even Slack, for when you're trending toward that number. So say I can set it for 150 and then 175. So I can get ahead, start enforcing social distancing, making sure that everything's okay before I hit that threshold. Again, giving people that peace of mind. Compliance, this is our analytics suite. So you can use it to understand where over time you're having huge issues with overcapacity, and also even identify places that are consistently under capacity. So perhaps you can change your floor plan, change your layout dynamically and understand what's going on. Density's idea is that we're not here to tell you what to do, but we are here to help you make these data-driven decisions rather than the I think and I feel statements that you might be seeing a lot as you plan for campus reopenings. Usage-based cleaning and sanitization is something we've started hearing a lot of conversations about. Right now, frankly, as people return to campus, the overwhelming standard is we're going to follow the CDC guideline of once per hour. The thing, though, is that over time, we're going to see potentially an ebb in how the pandemic works on campus. So the question is, how do we still credibly keep students safe? How do we make sure processes are being followed? But this is a huge line item. What you can do is set a density sensor to throw a notification to the relevant person, like a facilities professional, when, say, 75 people have been through a restroom. That way, the night before finals, I know everybody's in the library cramming. There's a lot of usage happening in that restroom. Totally okay. We're getting those notifications. We're keeping people safe. But say a Saturday morning, everybody's outside or sleeping in. Well, that will be cleaned less because we're cleaning based on usage rather than just making a guess at the best interval. Going to student communication, we have a few different ways to do this, but density makes it really easy to stand up digital signage. We understand that some people on this have probably already made investments in that, in providers like 4Winds, and we can talk to you about integrating that data through our API, even doing it through campus mobile applications like Moto Labs. Some folks like Notre Dame did that even pre-pandemic. So you're able to create a better student experience while also keeping people safe. And then again, another way to extend this data into campus mobile apps, even QR codes, which I'll get into in a few moments. And with that, I'm going to kick off our demo. Density thinks of space as a hierarchy. This is our dashboard and kind of, again, taking all this great, accurate, and anonymous data ingest and interpreting it for you so that you can make decisions. You'll see there is the campus level, and what is a campus but a collection of buildings. Within buildings, you have floors, you have rooms, and you have spaces. So you're able to easily scale this out, maybe start with entrances just to your library and take it to reading rooms, or just entrances to dining rooms and scale that out further. It really is about the scope of the project. We'd encourage you to get in touch to figure out what works best for you. But again, this is immediate. So right now, this is something that happened less than a second ago, tracking out to 1 minute. Entrances minus exits gives us our occupancy. On its own, occupancy doesn't necessarily tell us a whole ton though, because it lacks the context of what is our upper threshold. That's where legal and target capacity have come in. So legal capacity was something people were very interested in pre-pandemic, tracking toward the upper limit, the fire code limit, where they can make sure that the huge investments that they made in real estate and in facilities are being used well. Now, in the era of social distancing, while the technology is the same, the usage has flipped. They're looking to social distance, typically occupancy rates of 25 to 35% are what I'm hearing from folks most often. And that is something that you can set up here at the admin tab for each individual space that you bring online to density. They're also, again, easy to change. So as guidances maybe shift, you can change those capacities. And that'll reflect in percent fullness. So on the admin side, this is great, but how do we know in advance? That's what alerting's for. Again, this can be done via a mobile app. You can set up Slack integrations. We've seen people do that, email, but this is the simple, good old-fashioned SMS. So let's say my number for some reason is 234. I've set this as give me an occupancy of no more than 200 people. Okay. Well, again, I want to know when occupancy is over 150, I want to get a notification as the person who owns social distancing in this dining hall. I want to know in advance, hey, like this is time for maybe my proverbial spider sense to tingle and start paying attention. But I also want to know if things really scale fast, hey, it's time to front burner this. And that means that I'm setting a notification such that if within the next 30 minutes, another say 35 people come in, we're now at 185, then it's time to drop everything, go out there, make sure students are adhering to social distancing, making sure that everything is good to go. And then next, our analytics suite. So again, reporting is easily accessible from here. You'll see along the right-hand side, I apologize, by the way, this is a corporate use case. I will do my best to extend it as much as possible to campuses. But along the side here, you will see different summaries that we recommend setting up or are easy to implement. You can also create custom reporting here. One I'm really fond of is, let's take these two spaces. So let's say marketing is actually a student quiet reading room. Sales is a student break room and cafe that we set up in a lower level of the library after overwhelming student demand, and they swore they're going to use it. Okay, so I'm looking at utilization, fullness between these two spaces. I want to see it month to date. And I know my library hours are 6 to midnight, so I'm going to apply that. It's open 7 days. And what I'm seeing here is a trend. Weekends, students aren't using these two spaces much. Okay, we're just getting back to campus, makes sense. But what I'm also seeing though is over time, the reading room space every day is at least once at the target capacity that I've set for it. I.e., this is reflected from the target capacity number, the earlier dashboard. Okay, so this is actually really popular. And to a point where maybe we might want to make some changes, especially because this student break room is not nearly as utilized as students promised us it would be. Students begged for it, it's not being used much. Maybe people went in there to try to study quietly and somebody was doing, I don't know, making a TikTok or whatever. Either way, it's not being used. So as an administrator, I'm able to say, okay, I need to be able to serve my customer base's demand for greater study quiet rooms, but the break room's kind of a wash. I can pull that out. You're making a data-driven decision in how your space is being used. These can be downloaded, of course, and all this data can be pulled into something like a Splunk, a Tableau, even if you've implemented a workplace management system in an EDU case. All this can be pulled via our API. Please feel free to reach out to us to explore integrations and discuss that a little more, as I probably don't have time or the technical knowledge to get into it all right now. And then finally, safe display. So this is that digital signage component. Here, it's really easy. We've made it super easy to configure. Again, we understand that you might have other investments, but let's say you don't. So I'm going to set up a display for Ryan. If I were to create this display for Ryan's place, okay, I now have this, and I want to set my target capacity to match what I said earlier, 200 people in the dining hall. Display type, broadly density supports or can pull up these displays on pretty much anything with a web browser. However, we do recommend most often iPads or the Amazon Fire Stick plugged into a television or a monitor. It is a really cost-effective way to provide digital signage, right? A Fire Stick, something like, I think, $30. And then what I'm going to say is, okay, I want to do this on a monitor that I've had lying around. I'm going to plug in my Fire Stick. It's a cafeteria, so you know what? Wait time when something is at the at limit, right? When people have to stand around and wait, this is actually a great idea. And then show occupancy as well. Great. So then I save this. Oh, It's probably because, yes, that's because I already created it earlier. So that's good that they don't let me make redundancies. I'm now gonna log into that Fire Stick. I'm gonna put this up in my dining hall, and I've now implemented density safe display. So very quick, very light way. It also supports custom branding, easily implemented. So we can respect your university's branding, like say University of Delaware or University of Dallas, without needing to advertise density as heavily. We also have the ability to copy this link to a clipboard. So copy paste it. These links are authenticated and super long lived. So again, 4Winds, I believe, has the ability to show a carousel of different hyperlinks. You could put this in there and then it'll show up on different displays throughout campus. You could also copy paste this into, say, a QR code where you're going to be able to place that into your campus app or post those QR codes up around campus so students can tag them as they start crossing campus. And again, all of this data is available via our API. We've seen people do it into mobile apps and all sorts of sophisticated ways. The use case there, especially those of you who perhaps have particularly cold winters, no worries. Before your students cross campus, you're able to give them this better experience of, hey, before you go up, before you touch those doorknobs, before you do anything, here's how many people are in there. Do you want to try to grab a sandwich now, or do you want to wait till after intro to history? And with that, I am pleased to say we've summed up the demo portion of this. So I'm now going to turn this over to Q&A, and hopefully we have some great questions lined up. So just give me one moment to chat, and we'll go from there. So, how are units installed? Good question. So units are power over Ethernet powered. So while they can use PoE injectors to wall outlets and Wi-Fi, we do recommend, especially in a safety use case, using power over Ethernet plus into the back of the unit that mount over doorways. The reason why is that consistency in power and that undoubtable consistency in network versus the potential fluctuations of a modern Wi-Fi network will be able to give you the most up-to-date data possible for your students. We're happy to talk about that more. In addition, we have a really robust partner network. I saw another question about that. What that means is some of you are really focused on getting all of the details of your back to campus sorted out, and you don't necessarily have bandwidth, but you need this. We're happy to work with you to find a partner on your approved list or supply one who can come on site and implement this for you so that you have an easy and hassle-free experience in setting up density. We, of course, also provide support and customer success remotely. So if you choose to self-install and you have questions, we're always here to help. Yeah, many universities, failed to read the question out loud. Are universities currently using this? They absolutely are. University of Dallas is using this in their libraries, as is Mercer University in dining. University of Minnesota's Duluth section has it in their dining as well. University of Delaware is implementing. Notre Dame University is a very notable one. And I'm proud to say we have 3 of 8 Ivy League universities as well. So this has become a very popular option, and we have a great deal of experience in implementation. And are students commuting data, or be communicating to students via apps? Yes. So there is a density app of our own that is typically more targeted at the administrator side, the backend use case. But if you have a campus mobile app, again, we have a highly robust, very extensible API where we'll probably be able to help you understand how you would pull this data in and show that in a dynamic way to your student body. And it looks like we have actually answered all questions. So we're happy to be able to give you 9 minutes back. It's been a pleasure. My name's Graham Smith. My email's at the bottom if you want to tell me how amazing I am, but we also have the ability to be reached through any number of channels, including the links here. If you're interested in a demo, we would love to chat. If you're interested in talking about integrations or anything else, we're also here to help. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.